That's not a good start. Hey, welcome friends. Here we are. Hang on. Find Facebook. Yeah, great. Bright light beings. All right, I'm on the right page. Welcome, my friends. Hello, hello. Here we are. It is the 29th of December here in New Zealand. It's 2021, the last couple of days. I know not many of us will be sad to see the end of this year. It's Chat with Matt, half an hour or so. I am intending to bring it in around half an hour. I apologise for last week, which was more like an hour. Pre-Christmas. But anyway, here we are. We're between Christmas and New Year. We're in no man's land, really. That week of the year that everyone basically takes off, unless you're in retail or essential services. At least here in New Zealand and Australia, I know bugger all happens this week. Everyone sort of lays low. It's one of those weeks most people don't know what day it is. It's just like this countdown between Christmas, recovering from eating too much at Christmas, getting ready to drink too much at New Year's Eve. That's kind of what it is. Hey, Sister Jill. It's not that for me particularly, but in general, societal wise, and here we're in sort of the start of summer and Christmas and what summer holidays. Anywho, hey Sister K. So here to lost track of days. That's exactly right. So we're here to talk about whatever might be going on for you. I can talk a little bit about what's going on for me. I am just going to look down here to see. Oh my goodness, I've got a whole heap of comments. I haven't opened Facebook at all yet today, so here I am with a whole bunch of comments, which I'll quickly read through. Much love to Debbie, who is starting the new year with a new relationship. Just let the cat out of the bag there. That's why she's got new wings. Sam wrote, and I apologise because I haven't read any of these questions or comments, so I don't know if they're questions or not, but I am going to fling through them and see what we've got to work with, and then I'll work on from there. Sam said, I love having new wings. I know I've got them. Figuring out how to use them best is the next step. Developing an understanding of what we are capable of is a bit like realizing you're piloting the Starship Enterprise, except no one gave you a manual. The point is we write our own. Yeah. That's exactly right. And the thing with new wings is at first you feel very, very vulnerable. Like that photo that's there of the butterfly newly emerged from its cocoon. Its wings aren't even usable yet, and it's actually quite an uncomfortable experience. It feels like to be hanging on a stick or a leaf or whatever and pumping the blood out of your abdomen or the fluid into your wings to pump them up, right? To expand them and stretch them and prepare them even before we're ready to fly, even though we've never flown before. We have to go through this preparation. We know we've got wings, but they're not ready to use yet, and we don't even know how to use them. So there's a few steps involved, and a lot of those are uncomfortable and scary, and we feel very vulnerable, right? That if you look at that photo, that butterfly is very vulnerable because it can't actually fly yet. So there it is, having to go through a period of vulnerability. It's already been through massive amounts of vulnerability when it decided to spin a cocoon around itself. Hey, Sister Kelly, good afternoon in your part of the world. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and happy holidays if you don't do the Christmas thing, which is fine, and whatever. It is happy time, right? happy, joy, joy. It can be amongst the intensity. But anyway, talking about these poor caterpillars that turn into butterflies, which is very analogous for what many of us are doing, right? We have to be brave enough to spin a cocoon around ourselves and basically turn to mush, disintegrate inside the cocoon so that we can transform and transfigure and metamorphosize into a new form that is capable of flying. And then we have to break out of the cocoon, and then we have to hang on a leaf, still very vulnerable as we pump our wings up. And then we have to take the difficult step of launching and flying for the very first time, even though we're not ready for it, or scared of it, etc., etc. And then we get the joy of actually flying and landing on beautiful flowers and sipping nectar instead of chewing on leaves, etc., etc. Life gets better. So, and of course, that's just an analogy, and that's a very sort of 3D analogy, right? We're doing this whole process multiversally, right? In multidimensionally. So there's a lot that we try to, use that analogy to give our mind something to cling to give us some frame of reference, but it's a very poor one. It's a very inadequate analogy for exactly what we are going through, because we're doing this same metamorphosis process multiple ways, multiple aspects of our being, right? Mentally, emotionally, physically, but also spiritually and energetically and all sorts of ways. So, yeah, interesting, Jill. Jill wrote, the cocoon I'm coming out of, i.e. my house, which she has just sold, is falling apart around me, just reminding me of how right it is for me to be, I shouldn't have going to say leaving. Tumble dryer blew on Christmas Eve and took all of my electrics down so Santa wouldn't have spotted my house shrouded in darkness with me shivering with no heating. Wow, that's a bit of a bugger. Yeah. Interesting things happening. I woke up this morning. Well, we had not a very good night's sleep last night because of the mosquitoes in our room, which never happens, right? I woke up this morning and there's at least 15 mosquitoes on the ceiling in our bedroom. Like, how they got into the house, I have no idea. And how they all ended up in our bedroom, I have no idea, because we have screens and stuff to prevent that. But there they all were. So it's interesting how sleep deprivation really intensifies stress. And it seems there's been some sort of universal conspiracy to limit my sleep as of late, and thus give me more opportunity to feel the full brunt of the stress of what I'm releasing, right? These internal intensifications of energy that's arising that feels very stressful. Kelly said, holidays with family, exhausting, emotional, energy zapping. Yes. And yet fun in many ways, right, Kelly? It's good to be around our family. It's nice to establish or re-establish or maintain a degree of those relationships, but at the same time, as empaths, as spiritual beings, as light workers, it's exhausting, to be around people. So small doses, otherwise we can tend to, if we bite off more than we can chew, we tend to, tip ourselves towards that breakdown point, which I've surfed several times in the last couple of weeks, right, where it feels like my nervous system doesn't feel like it can take much more, right, on the edge of really losing it, which is scary and creates more stress, which is ironically what creates that situation with your nervous system. So for me, my nervous system's been going through a lot of deep purifications, which has felt very, very scary and vulnerable and left me feeling very much on edge, which then, leaves me scared, which then intensifies the nervous system response, right? Because when you are scared, when you're in fear, then your nervous system is more active. And when it's already fried, you don't want to be active in a fried system. We need to rest the nervous system, so we want to relax. So it's about trusting that our higher self, for me, it's about trusting my higher self is going to look after me, even though I know at this stage I'm not capable of dealing with much. So you have to moderate your exposure. You have to be sensible with your energy and with your attention and with your self-care, really, and sometimes it feels like we can be a bit of a, that we're not partaking fully in Christmas because we're saying, no, I can't cope with any more of this. I'm just going to have to retreat and spend more time alone, which is not what we're supposed to do at Christmas. We're supposed to gather in big groups and be merry and jolly. But if you can't cope with that, then don't make yourself wrong, right? Many of us are leading the way into a new way of being as we emerge, not just into next year, but into, our futures here. And we're having to go through the process. So it's difficult. Hey, Sister Susan. I did miss a couple of questions, so I'm just going to scroll back. I missed K's. Okay, so it was K's that I missed. Kay wrote, so challenging when family discredit everything I see here, understand two such different worlds. Yeah, it is. And, we just have to understand that they can't see it yet. It's too much for them, right? They're aware that their nervous system cannot cope with that level of unsafety, right? Many people definitely needing to believe that their authorities are still looking after them, because if that wasn't the case, then they wouldn't feel that they could cope with the world. So when you start telling them that the authorities aren't looking after them, you know, a lot of cognitive dissonance arises, because now you're basically inviting them into a state that they don't feel that they can survive. It's not the truth. They can survive it. They just don't feel that they can survive it because they've been programmed to believe that they need the authorities to look after them. They've been programmed to be disempowered and obedient. And for you to tell them that the world that they've built around them, the narrative that they're living in, is not valid, feels like death to them. And death is already very much prevalent, as I've shared quite a few times. That's, you know, been a lot of what I've been going through is death energies in various forms. Which doesn't feel comfortable to the ego, right? And then your nervous system is so on edge because you're feeling death all around you that you're hypervigilant for what's going to kill you or kill something, or right. But it is just the process we're going through. The old is dying. We're not dying. The old is dying. We've just tended to integrate ourselves into a lot of the old coping mechanisms, a lot of the old narratives and personas, really, identities, right? They're dying. My old identities are dying. Some of the old personas I'm dying. The relationships are dying. Not that the relationship is going away, but my perception of the relationship, my perception of father and what father means is changing. My perception of what husband means and how my relationship should be, and all of those expectations that are built in history are having to die. So a lot is falling away for me personally, and I guarantee this is happening for a lot of you as well. That much of our foundation that our little ego, our little intellectual self has used to navigate the world is in a process of disintegration, right? And dying and falling away and not being as relevant. And that is leaving us feeling very vulnerable, very open in many ways, open to change and expansion, which is great. But at the same time feeling very vulnerable and lacking a foundation, because the old foundations are having to be torn down, and now, you know, we feel very shaky without our foundations. We are having to build new foundations in a new paradigm, and that's going to take some time. So that's where we're at. We just have to be very mindful of what's going on, so that we can navigate it well. Sister Jill wrote, "You're not alone there," and I'm not sure what question this is. "It's stressful in a dark, cold house, but my newfound friends here in Blacknell are rallying around me, and one of them is coming over to fix the hole in the roof that allowed the rain to drip on the tumble dryer." Awesome. And I think that's part of the benefit of this time, Jill and everyone, is that community is starting to arise, a newfound community. A lot of our older friends are dropping away that were built in a different time based on a different paradigm and different set of conditions. And in these new conditions, in the new state of being that we're attracting new people to us that better reflect where we're going, right? As opposed to what's reflecting our history. It's always hard to let go of our history. Humans by nature are very nostalgic creatures. We love to live in the past. We love to remember how good it was. It kind of makes us feel, I don't know, warm and mushy inside when we remember our childhood and remember this and that. And there's nothing wrong with that. But and it's hard to let go now that those older relationships aren't, for many of us, not all of us, and not all of the old relationships, but many of the old relationships aren't sustaining us anymore because there's no true alignment there, because we have taken some rather quantum steps into what is now available, and some of these other people haven't yet because they don't feel ready to, right? They haven't been pushed enough with their own internal disquiet and discomfort to step into what seems scary and new. So, but the opportunity for us is to embrace what is available and new relationships forming, and being willing to take that risk, right? To form new relationships and move out of the past. Jill wrote to Kay, "When the time is right, you will find the right words, then be prepared to care for them." Yeah, I think you won't even need the right words. I think most people are going to awaken at some time or another during this next year, in some way or another. So I think it's going to become very, very obvious. I think we're going to have, I know it's been said so many times that disclosure is coming, but I really do feel that it is going to that the curtains are going to fall, and that little man standing on the thing, the Wizard of Oz, is going to be revealed right this year to some degree. Of course, it is going to be a staged, have to be a staged revealing. If everything was revealed all at once for what is truly going on in the world in terms of the agenda, that would be too much for just about everyone. So that's unlikely to happen. But nonetheless, I think various narratives are going to be exposed for what they are as this year progresses, and potentially sooner rather than later. But who knows? That's just conjecture. That's just my feeling. In some ways, it might be a little bit of hopium. We just can't guarantee what's going to happen. But anywho, it doesn't really matter. The point is, I was having conversations yesterday with a couple of clients. I did a few sessions yesterday. This was sort of a recurring theme around this idea of trust. We don't need to trust others. We shouldn't be trusting others. We can trust others to be as they are, humans. All we really need to trust in this world is ourselves. Because when you trust yourself, you know who you can trust and when. Because trust is something that we give in the moment. That's all. We should not be projecting our trust into the future. It's not very smart, right? To think that, I trust this person, therefore anything they do is trustworthy. Or anything they do is actually beneficial to me, right? That's not intelligent. And it's unlikely to be true, right? Because people are influenced by a lot of factors all of the time. And even people who have your best interests at their heart right now might do something in the future that might not to you seem like beneficial. So it's imperative that you redefine this trust thing so that it comes back to, and in the moment, do you feel that what they're doing right now, what they say right now, is actually beneficial to you and of the truth for you right now? Not, I trust that person, I'm just going to let them do whatever they want, right? That's not smart. Don't go there, right? That's going to end in tears. And I'm not saying to be paranoid about what everyone's doing and check up on everyone all of the time. Trust your intuition. Trust your intuition. Don't trust other things, whether it be a person in your life or an establishment. I trust doctors. I trust the government, right? It's just not clever to do that, right? I trust my parents. They've always looked after me. They've always had my best. You don't know what's going to influence them to do whatever they're going to do. You have to always be willing to inquire. We have to be always willing to feel into things. We have to be always willing to take things on this now moment, first principles right now. Because to get lost in this trust thing, and opposite, right? To say, I don't trust them. To put them in the I don't trust them bucket forever is incredibly stupid, because they may have opportunities for you. They may have gifts for you in new situations as the future unrolls. And to allow yourself to get conclusionary about any particular experience based on history is ridiculous, right? We have to let go of our history, and we have to be willing, right? It's not that we forget it all. It's not that we forget that those people did something that was harmful to us in the past, right? We still remember that. We still use that as background information, just as we remember people who have done a lot of good things for us in the past as background information, but we're still willing to inquire in the future. We're just so lazy as humans. We want to put things in buckets and put a conclusion on it. And conclusions are incredibly limiting. Hey, Sam. Exactly. Sam wrote, and this is, Sam wrote, when we trust others, we don't need to trust others to make choices for us. No, exactly. Because we can look at whatever decisions they are making and we can feel whether they work for us or not, and then we can make our own decision around that, right? It's not that we have to be devoid and we have to make all of our decisions ourselves all of the time, but we have to be willing to be awake, right? We have to be willing to be aware of what is happening and feel into it as it's happening. Sorry, I'm going backwards now. Jill wrote, this transition phase is exhausting, sad and exciting at the same time, yet I love my new local tribe who I met up with on the 26th to eat mince pies and drink mulled wine in the park. We are so supportive of each other. It's magical. Awesome. And I think that's a lot of the gifts that's coming. Kay wrote, hopium, I love it. In the Netherlands, they have added a new word to their dictionary, meaning the regret. Trust is essential mixed with critical thinking. Yeah, but it always has to be trust of ourselves, right? Not trusting any particular source of information, not even trusting that the information that being willing to re-inquire into information as time progresses, right? Because it's easy to get into conclusion. I think that's what we really need to let go of. Conclusion creates rigidity, and rigidity is exactly what we don't need right now. We need to really embrace flexibility, adaptability, and fluidity. We need to flow with changing conditions. The conditions are guaranteed to be more fluid than ever, more flowing, not necessarily gracefully. I think we're coming into some rapids, and so we need to be willing to adjust quickly to changing conditions, and conclusions just don't allow that to happen. We need to be able to reassess what we've been believing at the drop of a hat. And I know that's very unsatisfying for our mind, because our mind loves conclusions, because then we build frameworks around it that we use to predict the world. But we're moving out of needing to predict the world in a mental way and going much more intuitive right now, so that we don't need to predict what's going to happen. We can intuitively feel how best to respond without actually knowing what's going to happen. That's where we're going. So that's our challenge for all of us. It doesn't matter what side of this equation you are on and what you're currently believing. I'm encouraging you not to believe anything and just come back to first principles right now. And what does it serve you to do right now? Not based on what you've been told, not based on what you believe, not based on what you think you're going to predict, what other people are predicting. If anyone's really confident in what they're predicting, they're full of shit, because I don't think anyone really knows how this is going to unfold. Not even those who are pulling the strings don't know how this is going to unfold. Not even God's source universe, our spiritual guides, don't know how this is going to unfold, because we're all at choice. And right now in this chaotic mix, in this cauldron of chaos and instability, maverick choices are leading the day, right? People are choosing out of normality. People are making choices that they normally wouldn't make, which is exciting because it means that things can change, but it's also incredibly scary because we can't predict how it's going to happen very well at all. We've never really been able to predict it, but we've had a better chance at getting closer to what's going to happen based on probabilities. And now the favor's really not. Now the opportunity to choose what's more likely is getting less and less as people are getting more and more chaotic in their choices. So anarchy, right? A lot of people are very scared of anarchy, but it's a very fertile ground for good change to occur. When the structures break down, new things can grow. So that's where we're at on the world and internally, right? This is internal, what I'm talking about. This isn't just about our government structures and our education and our medical system and the vaccine bullshit and the mandate bullshit and all that. That's just a reflection of what's going on in here for everyone. So the more that you can recognize this as an internal transformation, take your attention off trying to fix the external world and bring it back to, how do I navigate my own instability right now? How do I navigate my own chaos right now? How do I allow myself to be non-conclusory about who I be in the world? And how do I allow myself to trust my inner compass to work, even though all of the old structure that I've used to understand the world and predict the world is falling apart, right? This is where the opportunity is right now. This is where the practice is. Jill just wrote, is there a practice we can do to reinforce our trust in ourselves? Meditation, light language, singing, all the above. Exactly, Jill, all of the above. It's very individual, and it really comes down to intent. I think the most important aspect of transformation is to maintain a consistent intention. And then people say, well, how do you do that? It's just like, well, remember where you're going. And if you're going into a space that is more self-trusting, then remember that every day, multiple times a day. Write it down. Write it down. Rewrite it down, right? After your meditation, before your meditation. Or what I like to do is read it before my meditation and re-journal after my meditation with similar sentiments, right? My choices for where I'm going, my big intentions. Write them down. Put them in black and white or blue and white right in front of yourself, or pencil like I like to use, right? Make it real for yourself what you are choosing. Remind yourself of that. Put reminders on the fridge, on the bathroom mirror, etc., etc. Right? I'm choosing to trust myself. I'm choosing to trust my intuition. I'm choosing to be more flexible, mentally, emotionally, energetically, spiritually. Choosing to be more flexible. Mantras to yourself as you exercise, as I love doing. So as I'm walking, right? Empowered freedom is a big one. But, ultimately, also, I like to just repeat. As I inhale, I'm expanding. As I exhale, I'm relaxing, right? Simple words. Expansion, relaxation. Just reminding myself, that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing. I'm calming my nervous system. I'm coming back into myself, right? Coming back into myself in an expansive way, because that's what we're doing. Anywho, so there's no particular magical practice, right? And I'm not going to give you all, I hate to try and really, Mantara is really big on not disempowering people and saying, right, this is the light language session that you all need to listen to 3 times a day to fix this. Because while it might help a bunch of you, ultimately what we're really interested in is you finding your own way. And yeah, you can use any particular light language that feels that it's in that, stepping into your personal power is a great one, right? That's the one that I give away for free on my website to anyone who signs up. And I can put the link somewhere if you haven't got it. It's as good as any, but you can use anyone. If you feel you need more lubrication, then listen to what's it called, angel grease. If you feel you're clearing more, listen to Clear, Purify, Uplift, right? If you feel that you're on the edge, then listen to something that's more soothing, space harmonization, etc. I've made so many fucking light language sessions, right? Ultimately, they all work. And then, they're not so conclusory in their title. You can use whatever to achieve whatever. They all create a space where you have better access to your higher self, or more correctly, your higher self has better access to you. And if you maintain your intent about what you're choosing to achieve through that, then you're going to get there. But what's important is that you are strong, you're confident in the intention that you're holding, and that you are claiming your personal power to get there yourself, right? You're not needing other people to come and rescue you. Sam wrote, I used angel grease to help open a stuck lock. Yeah, works well in the there we go, on the screen, and wouldn't go away. And then when I tried to flick it away, I actually went to my calendar. Anyway, phones, I'm not very good with them. Anyway, so I don't know if I missed some other stuff in there. Sam wrote, I find the mainstream narrative is really distracting. I like to step away and meditate and simply ask my higher self to take me where I need to go and what I need to see. Often has very little to do with what's going on in the outside chaos. Exactly. We don't actually need to completely bury our head in the sand, but we do need to create space from the stress that the outside narrative is creating. That's its intent, right? The intent of this whole narrative is to confuse people and to stress people and to keep people disempowered and not feeling confident in themselves. So while it's beneficial for us to have an understanding of what's going on around us and that, it's also beneficial to create distance from it so that we can be strong in ourselves as well as flexible in ourselves and willing to follow our intuitive guidance in the moment to show up in ways that is beneficial to the all, including ourselves. That's really what it comes down to. And being willing to, take a risk and not comply with stuff that really feels out of alignment with what you know in yourself. I just remembered I didn't get through the list of stuff on my computer, and it's 9:32. I was a little bit late starting. So, Christina said, I love being like a baby bird. You won't know your wings will work fully until you throw yourself off a cliff. Yeah, exactly. That's what I was saying earlier about the butterfly in that picture clinging to the thing, pumping its wings up. We don't know. Jill said, I'm still in the cocoon phase at the moment, but chewing my way out, readying myself to fly west. Yeah, in some ways, yes, I get your analogy, but in other ways, you're well and truly out of the cocoon, Jill. And that's what I was basically alluding to when I said that the analogy of the caterpillar going into the cocoon, coming out as a butterfly, is quite inadequate to represent the transformation or the metamorphosis that we are going through, because what we are going through is multidimensional. It's happening on so many different layers, and we're at different stages on different layers. Some layers we're still filling our bellies as the caterpillar, and other layers we are already flying as a butterfly. But by and large, this is the overriding narrative that we're going through at this stage. Many aspects of ourselves are in the cocoon or just emerging from the cocoon. And so, it's a difficult time for us to really feel centered in ourselves, because we seem so... It's very hard to actually grasp what we are right now. There's this deep desire to know ourselves, and our self is so fluid at the moment, like literally in mush in some instances, that there's nothing to know. There's nothing to grab onto. So that's difficult for us to be okay with this not knowingness of who we really be, right? And I've alluded to or talked about many times this year, this whole 2021 for me has been about, emphasizing my beingness rather than my doingness, and investing a lot of time in simply giving myself the space to be and not get too caught up in having to do, which has been very difficult, and yet very rewarding, and yet nowhere near complete. So, and of course things keep shifting, but we've started a process that is in process now of recognizing and really appreciating the beingness, because that will influence the doing much more inherently and beneficially than trying to be based on what you think you should do, right? We've got to put the horse before the car, and we have to come back to the deeper foundations and build up rather than try and build down in. Anywho, my friends, hopefully that's it. Doesn't seem to be anything else to talk about right now, and I am going to stick to my word and keep this pretty much closer to the time that we're intending to. One reason is, of course, I have another call coming up soon, and things to do in between. So much love to you all. Happy New Year. Jill wrote, as a child I kept silkworms, and they produced beautiful temporary cocoons all spun from silk. So the bit before they become moths again was a quiet phase. Yep, we've got 2 mulberry trees here. We like eating the mulberries. We don't actually have silkworms, so I don't know if they're in New Zealand. I have no idea. Anywho, doesn't matter. But I remember they live on mulberry trees, right? Anywho, much love to you all. Thanks, Sam, Kay, Jill, all the rest of you who have joined and added something, and those of you who are watching the replay. Happy New Year, right? It's exciting. We've got a few more days left of this year into next year. We have a new moon. Couple of days into the year, it'll be in the morning on the 3rd here in New Zealand. A lot of the world, it'll be in the evening of the 2nd. Will be the new moon. No doubt. No worries, Susie. No doubt will be a powerful time. But as I've said most years, please just be a little bit willing to recognise that things don't change on the 1st of January. There is a changeover period. So I say that because a lot of people, like to make big resolutions. Hey, Sister Donna, Happy New Year to you. Like to make big resolutions and then get very despondent when things haven't shifted by, the first week of January. and they're, struggling with what they've resolved to do. Please be willing to take a longer term view on how you're going to move through 2022, and don't get too caught up in making big promises on New Year's Eve and then feeling like you failed by the end of the first week of January. Just don't do that to yourself. Look to the longer goals and be willing to be patient with how next year is going to unfold. I do feel that the first few months of the year will be particularly turbulent. Over here, at least it looks quite likely that we're going to get another lockdown based on what the government's doing and what they're telling big business, for whatever reason, to try and control Omicron, etc., for various reasons. I'm not going to get into the conspiracy of all of that. But the point is, and that might not happen too, so don't take that as gospel either. But it's just putting it out there that there's potential for a lot of stuff to happen. And as we said before, the way forward is to be flexible, adaptable, adjustable, right? And to take things as they come. Look for the opportunity in every situation that comes your way. Choose not to think things are either going right or wrong, because nothing is either right or wrong. Everything just is, and it all is an opportunity. There is opportunity in every situation that unfolds. Our job is to look for it and to exploit it. Not in a not in a bad way, but exploit it for our own benefit as beings of light here on this planet. There are opportunities everywhere. Our job is to recognize them and to be brave enough to step into them, and to be fluid enough and non-conclusionary enough to work with what is showing up, and not to contract in fighting against what we don't want, right? Because if we go down that path of thinking we don't want this, and then it starts happening, and then we start fighting, and then we start feeling pissed off and angry and all the rest of it, we just basically diminish our own vibration, and we're not actually achieving what we're here to achieve. Keep your focus on keep your, what is it? Keep your eyes on the prize. Keep focused on where you are going, what you're choosing for yourself, the community that you're choosing to build around you, and the state of being that you're choosing to embrace for yourself, the state of inner authentic confidence and empowered freedom and expansive expression, right, that you're looking to achieve, the creativity and the brilliance that you're looking to bring onto the planet as a being of light. Focus on that, regardless of what's happening around you, regardless of the opportunities that you think you have or don't think you have, that make it easy or not to achieve what you're looking to. I can guarantee you it's not going to be easy to achieve what we are intending to achieve. That's the excitement of being on Earth. It's a challenge to do these things, and the challenge is always changing. So much love. Yeah, exactly, Susie. It was great to get out on the lake. But now we're not there. We're here. So here we are, looking, keeping our chin up and looking for how next to express ourselves, and how next we can really do something that's beneficial for us, non-sacrificially, right? And that's not selfish. This is the way that we're all going to progress forward. We must look after ourselves first, and then that light will spread out around us and will influence others. Happy New Year, Brother Glenn. Much love to you and your daughter, and all those else who you hold dear. Many blessings to us all as we move forward into this year. Be patient with it, and also be confident in yourself and your own intent. Bye for now. Namaste. Right. Greet the divine being in you. And I encourage you to carry that forward. You don't have to say namaste, but just look out there. These other people who you think sheep or whatever, right? Just let go of all of that derogatory nature to people who are complying or people who aren't complying, depending on what side of the fence you're on, because ultimately we're all divine beings. Just remember that, right? We're all divine beings coping with our history, doing what we're capable of. And while you might look at some people and think they should be doing this or they should be doing that, you can look to yourself and think the same thing. I should be doing this and I should be doing that. It just doesn't fucking help. Let go of all of the shoulds. See everything as a moving opportunity and just fit in where you can, flow where you can, enjoy it. enjoy the opportunity for unity within our community, even though there is a huge amount of diversity and there is quite a lot of division being perpetuated. Don't play into the division by seeing that some are wrong and some are right, right? Don't even be divisive towards the ones who are creating division. Just see them for what they are, creating an opportunity for us to overcome division. They're playing a role. We're all playing roles here. So let go of the hatred. Let go of the desperation. Let go of the conclusion of right and wrong. Just open your hearts. You can't go wrong, right? And I know it's not easy. Don't beat yourself up when you find yourself falling into old habits either and getting all shitty with the world. That's also part of it, right? Be compassionate with yourself, compassionate with others. It's how we're going to make 2022 better than 2021. Better, of course, is a relative term, but many of us have had a difficult time this year, and we have an opportunity to have a time next year. Anyway, much love. Bye for now. Much love. Bye-bye.